do you think the competition will be at kicker?
I don't know right now how tight it'll be because we hadn't been out there yet. But I mean, Gunn is we signed him because we think he's special, and he's got a cannon, and so we'll see. Where Liam is. We'll see how he gets out there and competes, and Kastner and Morton. We got a little group. They'll go get out there. I mean, the one thing about kicker, there's no gray area, right? It either goes through the pipes or it doesn't. So it's not very subjective. We'll see, but we feel good about Robert Gunn. I mean, I think he's a special talent. I mean, I really do. But you got to go do it. So as far as where we are competition-wise, I mean, we'll see as the spring goes. We got both our snappers back. I'm excited about that. And I think the competition is going to be at punter. With Jack coming off a red shirt, I think he's kind of mentally got himself in a good spot. It was really good for him last year. We punted him in the ACC championship game. He bombed it. I think that was good for him. And then obviously Aiden got a lot of experience last year. So, we'll see.
Dabo, what do you think so far from what you've observed of Garrett Riley strictly as a quarterback development coach? And around the SEC and ACC, there have been several offensive coordinators that have bolted for the NFL. Are you worried about the demands of college football coaching kind of making coaches leave for the pros?
Okay. All right. You tested me. All right. So the first one was his development as a quarterback coach. I mean, I think he's first of all, he's awesome in the meetings. I've really enjoyed his demeanor. He's the same guy every day. He's very bright, very consistent. He doesn't act like he's got all the answers or anything like that. I mean, he's really he's very confident. I love that about him, and he should be. He's been very successful. But the quarterback that he had at SMU, I think his name was Buechele. Is that Buechele? Buechele. And, you saw his impact on him when he was there. And then, he goes into TCU. And ironically, Chad Morris's son won the job in camp. I was just with Sonny Dykes like a week ago when we was talking about this. But Chad Morris's son won the job in camp, got hurt, I guess the first game. And Duggan, the guy ended up winning the Davy O'Brien. I think all you can really base the answer on is just a guy's track record. And he's got a good track record when it comes to developing quarterbacks. So I think he's got a good knack for that. He's been around a bunch of good ones. That's the first part of it. And then I think the second thing you asked was about the NFL. I mean, there's no question that, where we are in college football right now from a calendar standpoint, it's crazy. I mean, it's just it's especially for, the assistant coach, because there's just, if you, and it depends on really, I guess, who you're working for too. It's not a surprise to see a lot of guys that have made that move just because, when football's over, right? You're not dealing with recruiting and all those type of stuff. So, and right now, there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of chaos in college football. So I'm not surprised by it, but I'm not worried about it as far as, guys doing it, if that's what they want to do. Like I said, I'm not sitting around worried about that, but I'm not surprised by it.
Coach Antonio Williams with 1 year under his belt now. What do you look to see from him in terms of spring ball improvement and growth? Just
maturity. You just want to see a guy, learn and apply the lessons from last year. Just take that next step, I mean, he's freshman All-American. They don't give sophomore All-American. So, you just take another step from a maturation standpoint in his overall, total development. He needs to get stronger in the weight room. Get a little bit more committed nutritionally. become a little bit, and he's very, like, technically he was a pretty advanced kid coming in here, but really polishing up on some things from a technical standpoint, and then starting to become a little bit of a leader. That's a position that he thrived in. He came in, he ended up winning the job, and but he just taking that next step and being a dominant player day in and day out, and just physically and mentally maturing a little bit. And I think you'll see that in him. I've already seen that in him as well, but just being a little bit more of a leader as well.
Speaking of receivers, how big is this spring for Cole, just continuing to learn the position?
Well, it's big. He obviously has a lot of confidence coming out of the season last year. We're really fortunate we were able to redshirt him, and then for him to be able to get the experience that he had, but also have success is a huge positive for him. So, Cole, Antonio, Adam, Bo, that's kind of the inspector. Those five guys right there, should really, kind of butter our bread a little bit, if you will. I mean, that's kind of where it should start. And then, eventually, if we can get Stellato healthy, he could help us. I mean, he was having a great fall camp, and when he tore his ACL. So hopefully we'll get him back in there. And then obviously you got Tyler and Tink and Ronan and all those guys coming. Noble's here this spring. Super excited about seeing him. I mean, he looks the part. And he can move the way you ought to be able to move. We loved him in the recruiting process. He's looked great in our off-season program. So anxious to see him get out there. But we've got a good group, but it's big. It's a big opportunity for Cole. Again, with Bo out, with Adam out, with Stellato out, and some of those other guys not here, the opportunity for Spector and Cole and Antonio is big. This spring. It's really big.
And with the scholarship numbers at linebacker, keen to get Jamal Anderson, D. Creighton in early to get them kind of advanced toward being depth contributors, perhaps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've our number. We changed our number. It used to be 9, and now it's 8. So we're actually kind of right at our number scholarship wise. But we. So we're in a good spot, but yeah, definitely, get for spring practice for sure, getting those guys in here. I mean, they both are, I think they're as advertised. I mean, just watching them move around, watching how they've kind of handled themselves in the walkthroughs. They haven't seemed overwhelmed. They're different. Jamal is, man, this kid is a big time athlete. This dude is smooth, man. He can run, change direction. I think he can do a lot of things. He's got really good growth potential. He's long, and then D's a thumper. D is got a great body, and both of those guys remind you of the guys that we have there. It's a great room. It's a really, really good room. I'm very excited about our group. There's not many teams out there that have, Barrett Carter and Trotter and Woodaz, with your first group. And then Woodaz, if we're in a true 3 linebacker set, will be your guy. But Woodaz is going to work Will Backer as well. So which naturally a transition for him. But man, Dudley, we were able to redshirt him. Man, Dudley has got a chance to be a really good player. I'm super excited about him. I haven't seen as much of Kobe, just because he was on the scout team all year. I haven't seen as much of him in a competitive environment, situation yet. So he's really worked hard. He's gotten strong. He's changed his body a little bit. So see him out there, and then Jamal and D in the mix. It's going to be a good group. It's going to be a really good group.
You mentioned there's a lot of carryover or a lot of similarities between the offense y'all have had here and the one Garrett brings in. What are some important sort of distinctions or differences between what he brings in and what y'all?
Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest thing is just getting the terminology the same, but the biggest thing is your outside receivers. Like, we would always cross-train our guys, the X and the Z, the 2 and the 9, depending on what we called them, whatever year it was. But you would always cross-train guys, whereas now, those guys, when you get into game planning and things like that, you put guys wherever you want them. But as a base rule, those guys, they don't switch sides. So they cross-train naturally, which I like that because the ball gets distributed, differently too. And so, that X is on the next play is a Z, and that Z on the next play is an X because, the ball's left hash, right hash, whatever. So then your slots make the adjustments. That's part of it. And then systematically, just how you signal things is a little different. Put a little bit more on the quarterback from a signal standpoint. It's really simple. We've simplified some things. But again, and then there's a lot of things that we've done that have been really good for a long time that you want to kind of hang on to. But biggest thing is just getting on the same page terminology-wise because he's got to be able to call it freely. And what we might call stick, he calls this. And it really doesn't matter. What does stick mean? No, well, it only means this because that's what we learned it as, right? So just getting everybody, what do we call 4 verts? Everybody runs 4 verts. Well, what do you call it? What he calls it, what we've called it, and then kind of getting everybody on the same page. Your cadence, is a little different, and the rhythm of what you do cadence-wise. So there's a lot of things, that are the exact same. I mean, again, inside zone's inside zone. It doesn't matter. You can turn on TCU and watch the inside zone. You can watch Clemson inside zone. But we called it this. Now we're going to call it this. And then and so it's been fun, going through all the cuts and, watch his cuts. And then we watch the same play at Clemson and, just the coaching points and things like that. But, I think we can play really fast. Just because of how we're going to signal and, kind of the keys and indicators that the players have. And then, again, as a base rule, guys not swapping sides, having to kind of really learn the whole concept. I think that's a positive.
Graham has talked a few times about the unequal revenue model the ACC is considering. Is that something that
say that again?
The unequal revenue distribution model, where kind of rewarding more money, more percentages of it to teams that are more successful. Is that something you've discussed with him, or do you think that's maybe a good model for the ACC?
Yeah, I'll just leave that to him. I'll let him handle all that. I know about it and I've heard the conversation, but yeah, I'll let him worry about that.
What do you want to see from the quarterbacks, both in terms of learning the system and development?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm super excited to see CV because I literally have not been on the field with him yet, right? I mean, he didn't go to the bowl game with us, so today will be the first time that I've been on the field with him. We've had walkthroughs, but, we've not been able to run routes and things like that. So I'm excited to see him out there. I'm sure he'll be nervous. And then, Cade looks great. He's right at 200 pounds. Y'all will see him, physically. He looks really good. And I think he wants to be about 208 maybe by August. That's kind of his goal. So he's really progressed well from when he got here at about 180. So he looks really, really good. But I just want to see him really take command. I want to see him lead. I want to see us, like I said, Garrett's not overwhelming them with scheme. We're trying to get really good at the basics and the foundation of the offense. And so I want to see those guys really take command, really bring great energy day in and day out and assert themselves as great leaders. And, I want to see CV get out there and compete. I hate Paul's not going to be able to go. But Hunter, he battled a little bit of a foot sprain coming out of mat drills, but Hunter Helms, so we'll get him out there as well. And then I want to see Trent, this is the first time I'm going to really get a chance to see Trent take reps. So it's going to be fun for all those guys, but just execute and show that they have a good grasp of what we're doing.
Obviously, got to see Cade have that week prior to the bowl or that month, I guess, to be the leader of the offense. I mean, how much do you feel like he established himself as that in that period of time, and how important is this spring?
Yeah, I think he took full advantage of it as a freshman. I mean, the one of the things I really like about this team is I really think that our best players on this team are incredibly committed. I really do. I mean, you know, we've had some years you have some teams where sometimes your best players are, you know, you'd like for them to be a little bit of a better leader, a little bit more committed. This team, the best players are really passionate and they're really committed and they're really good leaders. And Cade is an example of that. I mean, this guy is super competitive, incredibly committed, really truly believes in, you know, what we do here and how we do it. And you know, he's a winner. I mean, he's a natural leader. So, you know, it's hard. It's a different dynamic when you take over as a freshman late and you kind of have that new role. But now having an off season, going in the weight room, being out on the field, Saturdays, throwing balls to the guys, getting the guys together and things like that. I mean, he's had an opportunity to really assert himself that way, and it's been fun to watch. I mean, he's in a good spot.
Coach, speaking of leaders, Will Shipley missed last spring. That was a good opportunity for Maffa, but seems like that was torturous for Will not being able to suit up. How excited is he about this spring?
Yeah, he's excited, and you know he's a guy that has worked hard this offseason too to get his body. You know, he was battling some tendonitis and things like that coming out of the season, but he's worked really hard to be able to get out there and compete, and so that's a really good group right there. I mean, those two guys, you know, I think have a chance to be, you know, a special group. They both have done some really good things in their first 2 years, but there's a lot more there for both of those guys, and I think you'll see that for sure this year. And so we feel good about them. So I'm excited. Let's see where's Dominique, where's Keith Adams. We got a couple more guys rolling in here this summer. And Jay and Jarvis. So we'll see where they are as well. So it's gonna be a fun group when everybody gets here and all together.
What do you want to see out of Makuba this offseason as a whole?
Same thing I was saying about Antonio. I want to see him just maturity. You know, I thought he took a step back last year. I don't think physically he was in a good place. He was hurt a lot. You know, the one thing I'll say about Makuba, he's one of the toughest kids we have on this team, but I just don't think he had his body in the best possible spot last year. And so he's already improved in that area. He's about 8 or 9 pounds heavier right now than he was when we finished the season. So just physically getting his body in a better spot. And then he's got to be more disciplined, more focused. That there's just no question. I mean, he made some mistakes last year that if he just is a little bit more disciplined with his eyes, with his technique, he's in a better position. So, and then I think physically, again, he's got to really assert himself in this offseason more than he did last year to give himself the best possible opportunity to have the type of season that he wants to have. He's a really good player. He's a dynamic player. But and then getting healthy, because like I said, he had the elbow, he had knee, he had a little bit of everything last year. But I think it starts with just really truly maturing and really being committed nutritionally, strength conditioning, the whole deal.
What was the evaluation